today, Ethereum led the breakout. Ethereum clearly getting a break above its previous high. Bitcoin, not so much. Bitcoin still below the resistance, of course. No clear breakout there yet. But what is interesting is that the daily RSI is coming up above the 50 level. And this is that zone that we talked about on Twitter and on YouTube. The 50 level has always been a bullish pivot zone, bearish pivot zone, bullish, bearish pivot zone, resistance, 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 right? So if we pop above it, which we're starting to do now, that's when things would really start to break out. That's when Bitcoin would really start to move, right? So we're just waiting for that at this point. But at least the short-term price action is getting quite interesting here with Ethereum leading the way. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin Svenson, and today we're going to be talking about the price of Bitcoin because we're in a very interesting situation now. So if you're looking at the chart right now, nothing special appears, right? It doesn't really look all too special. It's kind of just another sideways range, but we do have some signals showing up on the chart. And that video that you just saw was from Twitter today, me basically giving the update on the 50 level on the daily RSI, which we did discuss in my previous video here on YouTube. So just to be clear on this, as I'm making this video right now, Bitcoin is sort of testing above and below that 50 level. Now we're at 49.46. And if you look back in history, how the market interacts with this 50 level in the daily RSI is that we do tend to get resistance around the 50 level, and then we tend to get support bounces right along that 50 level, right? And then it flips from being that support into a resistance, right? And you can come up above the 50 level and still not actually get a breakout, right? So this does act as resistance as well. So before we get too hype about this, I just want to make sure that you guys understand that this is a resistance currently, and it could potentially continue to be if we do get rejection down. We see resistance here again, just like this range right here. When we break down on the RSI, that leads to another leg down. So coming up here, if we break down in the RSI, that would likely lead to another leg down. So we got to be mindful of that as well. The real confirmation is not just being above 50 on the daily RSI. The real confirmation is being in a new breakout territory. Because as long as we're below that high, we can still get rejection and basically even come up above 50 and then reject back down. That's all still possible. So really what we need to see is a breakout above the high. And then we would be well above the 50 level with new highs on price. And that is really the confirmation you need. And that high is coming in around 22,500, 22,600, around this range right here. So that's going to be the final confirmation there, to make sure that we're not just going to get yet another dump off the 50 level on the daily RSI, which is something that can happen, right? So keep that in mind as well. And then if we do get rejection, we would be headed lower there. And if you take your resistance level, right, you draw your downward sloping resistance line, we can see that Bitcoin is now coming right up onto this downward sloping resistance line. We are so close to a breakout, and if we do get above this line, which could happen as I'm making this video, we may see major moves to the upside. And this I've been talking a lot about this, the 50 level on the daily RSI, which has been acting as great bullish and bearish pivot signals that basically looking for bullish and bearish trend shifts, right? And we've had resistance along this level now for a while. March, April, we've just been holding as resistance right here. And now if you're looking at the price of Bitcoin, we can see that we're coming up to, we're now above, we're at 51.35. We're above the 50 level on the daily RSI. We're actually breaking it now. And as we've seen before, these have all acted as really good bullish and bearish pivot signals. So if we get continuation up off this level, above the 50 level on the daily RSI, that's when we're going to start to see Bitcoin move. And it's sort of looking like it's starting to happen right now, especially if you go down to like the hourly time frame. Look at that move. We're coming right up to that resistance, and we're coming right up to the downward sloping trend line, which means a move to the upside could be taking place quite soon. And if you're looking at our fibs from high to low, what we can see, if you also match that up with our macro downward sloping resistance line, right? This is more of the medium-term resistance. This is the long-term resistance. Some of our fib levels are actually starting to coincide with the downward sloping resistance. We see that the 382 is coming in at 29,200 and the downward sloping resistance is coming in around 30,000. So this is an area of interest, I think, on this next bounce, right? If we don't just have a weak bounce and sort of pause at 24,800, which is a potential target here, right? If we don't just get a weak bounce and we actually get continuation, then we could be seeing levels like 30,000 on this breakout, right? That is actually very possible right now. But of course, we need some confirmation of that. It's not enough that we're just above the 50 level on the daily RSI. That's not necessarily enough, right? Because we can pop above it slightly and still get rejection. We've seen this happen many times in the past. And for Bitcoin, what we need, I think, at this point is just a break above this downward sloping resistance or a break above that previous high at 22,600. And if we can pull that off, then that is a clear sign of a breakout, and that is a clear sign of what I would consider a bullish pivot, which would basically just generate a new upward sloping trend, whether that's short-term, short-lived, or whether that leads to a longer-term kind of breakout or recovery. We'll see. A lot of people are asking, is this the bottom? Is this now confirmation of a bottom if we get a breakout? Well, that I don't know, right? I mean, it could just be a local bottom, right? It could just be a local bottom where we end up going lower later, or it could be the bottom. That's not something that we can determine yet. Most of the time, when it comes to figuring out if Bitcoin has found a bottom, that's something that you find out later, months and months later, right? You don't know if this is the bottom when you're at it, right? You find out later once we start to recover. So whether it's the bottom, we'll see. I mean, the weekly RSI is at has been testing historic lows, and every time we're testing these historic lows, it generally does act as some kind of bottom. So, it is possible that we've actually found the bottom, but we won't know. We won't be able to confirm that. So seeing prices like that, just under 30K, I mean, quite possible right now. Quite possible. Sort of close that gap right there, kind of just move right up to, through this range. There's really nothing there, right? If you're looking left, there's not much resistance here at all, right? In between the breakout level and this level, the area of interest below 30K, and this previous resistance, 22,600, looking left, there's like nothing there. So if we get a breakout, I mean, it's not going to be very hard to just come right through this zone. There's nothing stopping us, right? Not even historically, Bitcoin topped out just below 20K. There's nothing there. So if we break out, likely we're going to cut through that zone pretty smoothly. So that is the sort of the update for today. It's quite possible that we get a breakout here. And Ethereum has actually been leading this breakout. That's the interesting thing about today's move, is that Ethereum is actually the first to go. Ethereum is the first one to get the move to take place. And it is also coming up now on its downward sloping resistance line. So Ethereum could also see some major moves. And if Ethereum was going to hit the same type of fib level, like the 382, that would be around 1,900. And from the lows, that's a pretty substantial move. That's over 118% up from the bottom there. And from where we are now, even just that slight bounce right there would be about 40% up. And the thing about bear markets, guys, is that, it's likely that we're going to be trading sideways for quite some time. If you look at the weekly chart once again for Bitcoin here, and I draw that downward sloping resistance line, it's quite likely that we're going to spend months within this range, maybe even going lower later, who knows? But it's likely that we're going to spend many months going sideways. So even in a bear market, you can get, 70% pumps followed by 40% dumps. And I've been saying this for months now, that this is what sideways looks like in a crypto bear market. 70% up, 40% down, right? That's the stuff we're kind of looking for at this point. So seeing upside like that, seeing some major swings like that, should not really be a surprise. It's actually classic bear market action. It's classic stuff here in crypto. So if we're looking at Ethereum, you know, if we did hit 1900, that's 100% up, and that could be followed by 50% down. That type of sideways ranging is so classic in the crypto market. That is actually like the norm here. You know, I think that a lot of people are going to be, a lot of people have been very bearish in this zone. But you know, if the signals start to show up, you kind of just got to take them as they come. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to be you know, frustrated that I'm talking about bullish moves here, but just remember, I'm also talking about, you know, no significant change in price for the next several months, for the next half year. No significant change in price, generally speaking. A lot of sideways action is likely despite short-term pumps. So keep that in mind as well. But that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you guys want to support this channel, go ahead to my website, join the Patreon. There's some sign-up links for Kraken, BitGet with a $4,000 deposit bonus, and KuCoin $500 in rewards there. Use these links if you want to support the channel and get those rewards, and I'll talk to you guys soon.